Hi, my name is Molly Stensgaard. I'm an editor and I'm here at Alternativa to make a masterclass and to present a film. I'm born in Copenhagen and I've been living there my whole life. I love that city. I'm an educated film editor from the film school in Copenhagen from '93. And since that, I've been working as an editor, and later on, the last couple of 10 years, I've been working more and more with development of film projects. I've been working as a commissioning editor at the Danish Film Institute, and I'm writing myself, and currently I'm head of development at the Danish Broadcasting, DR. And I'm still editing with Lars von Trier, but maybe that's the only editing I'll be doing looking forward. But you never know. It's kind of, for me, editing and writing and editing and development are kind of the same thing, because it's storytelling, basically. I think that for me it's been a quite natural development in a way to because I think I've been editing 25 feature films and maybe 10 documentaries, feature documentaries. So it's at a point you just, I think it feels natural to elaborate on what you're already doing, and working with scripts and developing stories feels like a natural development for me. I think that it's also a matter of writing your own story is a bit different, right, than interpreting another person's story. Of course, you can sense that you have worked together so many years. I just calculated yesterday that it's actually 25 years. That's quite a bit, and it's 10 films that we have done together. So I think that besides knowing each other really well, of course, I think it's also a possibility of not having to start from scratch each time you start to work, but it's also for us been a possibility to do a continuous work that are a layer on top of the particular film, so to say, right? We've been able to work with the development of this way that we like to edit, which is something about not working with continuity and working with selecting emotional moments that we feel tells the story, right? So I think that we have, besides editing the particular films, we have had the opportunity to do something more than that on top of each film. So that's been really nice, of course, and quite a luxury, right? It's not that often that you work for so long time with the same. I think that Lars is a tremendous inspiration to the whole film community in Denmark, actually. It's not, but for the people he works with, of course, it's even more so, right? So I think he's a huge inspiration for me, also on the other things that I do. He's been, as a co-owner of Zentropa, he's also been quite influential of the Danish film community. It's something about sharing the work, talking about why you do what you do and stuff like that. So I think it's not only me, but in general in Denmark, that he's a huge inspiration for a lot of people. If he was a foreign film director, he would still be someone that I would just really, really, really like to work with, even though that I didn't know him and he was just a foreign film director. So I think for me it's just such a luxury that luckily he's Danish, and luckily I bumped into him at the exact right time, right? Because I think that working with him is almost one of the greatest challenges and luxuries that you can have as an editor, right? Because the film are really edited. They every time we begin with a new film, it's something about developing a language for that film, a filmic language for that film, and a lot of stuff goes on in the editing. And he really generously films for the editing process, right? So you could have other directors that are really exciting, but that are very straight and they know exactly I use this and this and this and simple. Lars does films loads and loads of material, and then we really bring the film forward in the editing process. So I think that even though he wasn't Danish and was maybe more out of reach, he would still be one of the top 5 directors that I would really like to work with. I think it's something about, it must be a very original story. There must be some kind of expectations that you will challenge the film language in some manner, try to figure out exactly how to do it, and then I think great actors is a huge part of it, because we spend so much time finding good performances, and if it's really good actors, the chance is so much better that the material is really good, right? So that's also, the actors are really also a part of it. I think there's, the humor is very Danish. I think that his kind of humor is very Danish. I think the rest of it is pretty international in a way. I think working-wise, there's a quite flat structure in Denmark. The hierarchy is not very strong, right? So I think that's also something I enjoy a lot. There's no doubt that in the end the film must become as Lars would really like it to become, but during the process and during the work, there's a very flat structure, so it's not like you have to just sit and wait and get orders. It's expected that everybody contributes and have their opinions and try things out and stuff like that. So that's also quite Danish, I think. Every film demands something that are always the same. The way you approach, the way I at least approach each project is the same. There's a way to try to get into each film, but each film also demands something extremely different and new, and genre is a huge part of that. I consider genre like a toolbox for me. I work a lot with genre, and sometimes if I work with for instance, a tragedy, I might work with action thriller in the middle of the film, because for me, I think that genre is a way to work with the audience's expectations, I think. It's giving them something well known and then twisting it at the same time. So Lars also really uses genre as a device almost in our work. I think that a certain genre creates a certain expectation in the audience, and that expectation you can work with in the editing. You can either support it, or you can create an expectation and then surprise by doing something completely different. And that kind of expectation you work with in the editing. I don't see myself as I make the story, because somebody have been writing in it, somebody have been directing it. But I think that the editing, and I think one of the most important things in the editing is that that's where you really make the transition from written word into film. That's where the story is for the first time told in film instead of written words. So I think in that sense, the editor is very much a co-storyteller. So that's why it's so important, I think. But I think that I sometimes compare it to a singer that sings a song that somebody else has been writing originally, right? So there's a huge part of interpretation in a way. And by interpreting something, you are also adding something of yourself, right? So I think for me, it's quite similar to that situation. I always liked Scorsese's films, and I think Schumacher is quite significant as well, right? But otherwise, I think that for me, editing is something about a very well-told film. And it can have very many forms, right? I don't think I have a certain editing style myself. I think that each film dictates a certain way of editing. But I think that I really enjoy films where things are not overtold, right? Where you have to be quite active yourself to figure out how things are. I hate when it's kind of stuffed down your throat and you don't have to think for a moment to understand or to sense or to figure out how things are. So I really prefer films that makes you have to stay on your toes a bit to follow them, right? I think that in Denmark in particular, I think that I would guess that we are 50-50 men and women actually. I think the whole Danish film industry could be in the CCCP hall, right? It's really not big. So we are maybe like 15, maybe 20 editors that edits all the things that are done. But I think that this last 5 years I've been trying to think about how I could support other women in the film industry, and I think the best way for me is to be mentoring. So I'm mentoring a young female editor who I find extremely talented, Linda Mann. You will know her in a couple of years, I'm sure. But I think that's my way of trying to support female filmmakers, because I think that we have a quite good system in Denmark, I think, and it is in many occupations it's quite equal, but I think that sometimes female editors are not as good as they don't have sharp enough elbows, and I think that as a mentor you can support that a bit, right? So I'm working with her, and I've been working with her like the first 3-4 years after she graduated, and at a time she'd just be working without me, but that's how I try to do it. I think that what I can really see a change is in that's DOPs. There are quite many female DOPs in Denmark right now, and they are really good, and they are succeeding abroad as well on a level that only men did before. But I think it's actually mostly DOPs that have changed during the period I have been working. Otherwise, the other areas, directors maybe. I think that, but 15 years ago, almost all of the Danish film 1 year were done by women. So it's not that huge a thing. But I think DOPs is. But I think I still think that we need to have a focus on what the films are about, who are the writers and the directors, because we need to be sure that they are filmed for women as well, that it's not like all male main characters and the women are just supporting and applauding the male figures. So I think in that sense it's still needed to have a focus also in Denmark. But the film, the creative teams in Denmark, as far as I can see, pretty equal actually. It's up down a bit, but on the long run, I think it's quite 50-50 actually. But what the films are about is important. So it's important that there are female directors and writers, because that's the people who decide what the films are about. No, I haven't. I did actually direct a small documentary as a graduation. It was about naked people, actually, from birth to death. Yeah, it was a very sort of poetic thing. But no, I think that I really enjoy the work before the shootings and after. I think shootings are like too demanding, and you're waiting all the time, and it's just not me. But I would never say no to anything beforehand, but I really enjoy the writing process, and I really enjoy the editing process. But that stuff in the middle somebody else can do. Well, that's fine by me. So. And then I still really love The Kingdom because it's very Danish and very funny, I think. Yeah.
You always remember your first.
I always remember the first one, yeah.